If you live in Melbourne, listen up. We are hosting our first ever live podcast recording. We're going to do a live episode of the What You Will Learn podcast. You can be in the room as it happens. Head to whatyoullearn.com/event to grab your ticket. That's if you live in Melbourne. If you don't live in Melbourne and would love to head to a live podcast recording, send us an email, podcast@whatyoullearn.com. Let us know what city you're in. Who knows where we might pop up next. But if you're in Melbourne and if you want to come to our first ever live podcast event, plus you'll get a special bonus for attending. You'll see that when you head to the event page, what you're in for. It's a little secret that you'll hear more about soon. whatyoullearn.com/event, EVENT. We hope to see you there. Welcome back to What You Will Learn. My name is Adam Ashton.
And my name is Adam Jones. Today we're taking you through the best bits of the Challenger sale by Matthew Dixon and Brent Adamson of CEB, implied knowledge in this book, but I'm guessing it's their business. And sub-kicker, how to take control of the customer conversation, Ashto.
It's an interesting one to put that on as CEB if no one knows what it is.
I've got no idea.
It sounds like a beer. If we're like Adam and Adam from WYWL and nobody knows what that is, it doesn't add a whole lot of credibility. Yeah. Unless it could be something big. What does it stand for?
I've got no idea, mate.
Oh, there you go. Well, if we go back to the GFC, maybe a time some people don't want to remember, but if we go back to 2008, 2009, the bottom fell out of the economy. Customers vanished overnight. Commerce basically came to a halt. Credit was scarce. It was really the toughest sales environment in decades, and most salespeople were totally screwed, except for a few rare gems among all the crap that turned out to still be killing it.
That's it, man. Most people sucked. I mean, all businesses, the budgets just pretty much blew out. No one wanted to spend money, but still, there was some who were selling, in fact, a lot, and they were kicking ass, even more so than the previous history for them. So whilst the others were going out there just struggling to close deals, tripping over shoelaces, slipping on banana peels. These others, they were bringing in the kind of business most reps could only dream of.
That's when, in this toughest environment ever, that's when CEB launched what has become one of the most important studies of sales rep productivity in ever.
History of humankind.
Self-anointed,
but still history. So in this study, which changed the world, heads of sales from the world's most well-known companies really came together to identify what is going on with this special group. And now, having studied the question for 4 years now, the authors, they've really come up with some serious insights that have rewritten the whole sales playbook and have really led the B2B executives all over the world to think really differently about how we're meant to be selling.
So this episode is all about what they found in this world-shattering CEB-led study. And really it is. It's a recipe for successful sales solutions that you can apply to whatever you're trying to sell.
So what the survey looked at was over hundreds of frontline sales managers across 90 companies around the whole world, across all history of time, asking them to assess the reps on 44 different attributes.
So they looked at things like their attitudes, so things like issue resolution, goal motivation, curiosity, things like skills, so their business acumen, communication, teamwork, their specific activities, so adherence to processes, evaluation of opportunities, lead generation, also their knowledge, so their industry knowledge, specific product knowledge, all those 44 different attributes that they measured sales staff on.
So the good thing is when you're measuring sales staff, it's pretty easy to measure who's doing good and who's doing shit because it's basically how much they sell it. It's a very clear metric you can measure against. And what they found was there was 5 basically different archetypes. And archetypes are pretty handy sometimes to put yourself in a category and realize where you need to move to. And the first of these was called the hard worker, 21% of the population out there.
And that's exactly what it sounds like. They show up early, they stay late, they're always willing to put in extra effort. They're the nose to the grindstone type. They're self-motivated. They don't give up easily. They'll make more calls per hour. They'll conduct more visits in a week than basically anybody else. They frequently seek out feedback. They're always looking for opportunities to improve their game. So that's the hard worker type.
Sounds pretty good, you'd think. But so does this one. Relationship builder. That's all about nurturing and building strong relationships and professional relationships and advocates across the customer organisation. And it's really all about just being there for your customer, all about accessibility and service. And, not surprisingly, all the customers love the relationship builders the most because they're just good people, good, genuine people in all the interactions they deal with.
That sounds like a good type of salesperson as well. The third one is the lone wolf. They're deeply self-confident, which is pretty much what you want in a salesperson. They tend to follow their own instincts. They kind of go away with some of the rules. They're a bit cowboy. They're a bit prima donna. They don't really follow the processes. They don't really fill out the CRM the way they're supposed to, the way you want them to. You might feel like you want to fire them, but you can't fire them because they're just killing it.
They're doing well.
They're doing really well, so you can't get rid of them, so they just keep crushing it.
Also pretty good, that one. And this one's pretty good as well. The reactive problem solver, highly reliable and detail-oriented. So if you need to get in the weeds from a customer with technical knowledge and everything like that, they can do it. They'll probably be there for the post-sales follow-up, making sure all the service issues and implementation and execution, all these sorts of things are really sorted out really well and thoroughly.
That sounds great as well. And then the fifth type is the challenger. They're kind of the debaters of the team. They've got a deep understanding of the customer's business, and they use that understanding to really push and prod. They really sort of drive the customer's thinking. They teach them something new about their company, some way that they can do things more effectively. They're not afraid to share their views, even if it's potentially a bit controversial or a bit different. They're assertive. They tend to press the customer a little bit. It's probably a little bit uncomfortable if you're the customer and you got some sales rep coming in and saying, "Here's, you're doing this wrong. You should be doing it this way." They don't really hold back, and they don't hold back on their managers or senior leaders either. They'll say, "Well, come on, boss, you're not doing this right as well." So they're a little bit,
bit of a dick,
abrasive, but
bit of C.
That's right. But that's the fifth type.
That is. And before reading the title of this book, after
gives it away a bit.
Gives it away a bit, the title. But out of those five, what would you think you'd take a guess?
I'd probably go the relationship builder.
Me too.
Probably because that's probably my type. The soft. Oh yeah,
nice.
I'll help. I'll do whatever you want. Yeah. We'll help. We'll do this for you.
I'm a bit like that as well. It turns out me and you, we both suck.
We suck.
We're the worst. The relationship builders are the worst. The challengers got a bit of C, bit of D in them.
Yeah.
They kick ass. They win by a landslide.
Absolutely. So what sets these challenges apart? They offer unique perspectives. They've got strong two-way communication skills. They're not just talking or they're not just listening. They're doing a bit of both. They know what drives the individual customer. They've got them worked out. They can identify economic drivers of the businesses as well. They're completely comfortable discussing money. Sometimes it's sort of the awkward thing to bring. This is how much it's going to cost, and you sound weak, but the challenger doesn't. They know what they're doing. They can also push back on the customer, as we said. They're not afraid to give them a bit of pressure, and they're not afraid to say no. That's totally wrong.
Yeah, it takes a bit of courage, that, and the worst performers, unfortunately, the relationship builders out there, the worst of them all. Oh, who would have thought? And they just want to go out and hug customers, have a beer. Of course, relationships are really important, but if every time a customer's got a demand and you just jump at everything and you don't push back when you need to, it's really a recipe for disaster. For example, a quarterly check-in call. Hey, how's it going? It's good to find business, but it's really not a good way of making business or closing a deal. It's actually going to be a win-win.
Yeah, you're not going to create new opportunities from those quarterly calls, really. If it's just the check-in, they might say, we hadn't thought we need to do something. Can you guys help us out? You might pick up a little thing here or there, but you're not going to really create new opportunities.
Well, it's probably like the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's probably a good paradigm. Like, I feel like the challenger sale might be going hardcore win-win, and then the relationship builder maybe is a bit more lose-win, as in just trying to make them win, but sacrifice yourself in the process.
That's right. If you're buying off the relationship person, it sounds great. But in terms of their sales stats, not the best.
Yeah, exactly. I like it. So the big one here is challengers. They're able to control the sale. Very different. So its ability to sort of hold firm on the value and the ability to maintain the momentum across the whole sales process. Like, discussing money is one of them, right? It's like someone goes, give me a 50% discount and change your terms on X, Y, and Z. And you're like, no, why would we do that? This is what it's going to do for your business. And it's a totally different, holding firm and not just buckling.
That's right. They know, the reason is the challengers know that they're going to be able to do good shit. And they know that if you're going to do good shit, then you don't have to give discounts, you don't have to change the terms, you don't have to increase scope without increasing price. You've got that confidence in yourself and in your company that you're selling for, that you can respectfully push back and say, do you want it or not? This is what it is. We're not changing the terms just to cater to you. This is how it goes.
Yeah, and there's a lot of tension sometimes in that sales process where, like, the relationship builders out there sort of just get a bit weak and sort of buckle and cave in, but holding steady in that tension, feeling that discomfort and just hanging in there, and the other person might cave. It takes takes a bit of strength to really push
time.
through that.
But I suppose we should say up front that it's not just about being a see you next Tuesday and say, no, this is the price, that's it, take it or leave it.
Yeah.
There's a bit more to get to that point that we'll go through in the rest of this episode, yeah?
Yeah, well played, actually.
You can't just go out there and swinging things around and think that that's the way to get it done. You got to get to that point, and that's when you can drop in a bit of see you next Tuesday.
Good point, Ashto. Yeah. Going too hard on the see you next Tuesday. I was about to just spell the word out. That didn't work out. All right, so we're now going to get to the real stuff, what the Challenger actually does to get in there. So number one, it's all about really teaching for differentiation, and insight is absolutely critical through the sales process here.
Now, the shortest path to sales success is a deep understanding of our customers' needs. So the thinking goes that, if you're going to sell a solution, you got to first discover your customers' most pressing pain points and build a tight connection between what's keeping them up at night and what you're trying to sell them. So the idea is, if you dig deep enough and you ask the right questions and you coddle a little bit and you kind of give them a bit of a hug every now and then, that eventually you're going to get to the place where the customer says, okay, you're right, this is what is really deep down that's really bothering us. This is the one thing that we need to fix. That's when you say, oh, fantastic, this is exactly what we can do. We can fix that one deep, dark need that you haven't told anybody else. And they'll say, fantastic, here's sign, take all my money, take whatever you want. As long as you can fix this, I'm happy to do it. That's a perfect way to sell.
Oh, it is. It sounds good like that, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's not, it doesn't really work. That's the only problem, really, Ashto. Right. It doesn't work. It maybe used to back in the day. It's probably like the things that work back in the day. It takes a long time to just take out the baggage on the crap that's not around anymore, because it's based on the flawed assumption that the customer out there actually knows what they want in the first place. Their needs are simply there, just waiting to be unlocked through the mastery of interrogative technique. But customers don't know sometimes.
That's right. Sometimes the customer's greatest need is to figure out exactly what they need. They're not just going to say, they're just going to put it up in lights. Here's the one thing that I need to fix, and then I'll give you all my money. Maybe they don't even know what it is. Maybe there's just things that aren't quite going right and they don't know why, and it's up to you to try to work it out for them.
Yeah, and this is exactly what challenges do. So the best technique is to just help teach the customers what they need, really. And we'll go through about the teaching process a bit more. But challenges aren't so much world-class investigators; they're more like world-class teachers.
They win not by understanding the customers as well as the customers know themselves. That's probably the in the old textbooks, here's how to be the best salesperson ever is to work out and understand your customers as well as they know themselves. Actually, what the challenger does is they understand their customers better than the customers know themselves, and they teach them, here's what you're missing.
So number one, what they do is when you're teaching, you're actually leading them to your unique strength. So really interesting in this because so let's say you've gone out there and read a book like Positioning and you've got unique strengths compared to your competitors. You can go out there and teach them generic stuff, which is good for competitors and yourself. But if you're teaching them on your unique strengths, then it's just going to lead to you. For example, Ashto, in my world, you got mass timber, which is totally different to concrete. If you're going to teach someone, a new builder, about what they need to use, you're going to go out there and teach them about how much productivity on site and speed of construction actually saves on prelims and the cost saving in that. And a lot of the time, no one knows anything about that. So you're just teaching them specifically about that one fact. And then, you haven't even mentioned the word about what you're trying to sell at this stage, just the things that are unique to you.
That's right. There's an obvious way to do this wrong. Imagine, I don't know, say you work out your customers better than they know themselves, and you say, the one thing is that you're missing is you've got too many holes in the bucket. You've got a lot of people coming in, but it turns out you can't keep them. Your retention is low, and they're all churning, and they all disappear. And they say, oh my goodness, I didn't realize that. Can you help me fix this churn? You're like, oh no, sorry, we don't do that. We're above the line marketing agency. We're all about filling up the top of the bucket.
Yeah.
Well, you've taught them the wrong thing.
Yeah, you totally wasted your time.
Whatever you teach them obviously needs to lead back to something that you can do.
Exactly. And the thing that you can do better than anyone else. And it's really a magical moment because you've actually tied what they're looking for to your unique solution. And it's obviously not lying at this point. You're just telling the actual truth about how your product's different and how it solves issues in the world.
Another important thing is you need to challenge their assumptions. You can't be just teaching them something that they already know, or they're going to be like, yeah, thanks, mate. Thanks for wasting the last 5 minutes of my time. You need to actually teach them something that they haven't thought of before, that actually does change their brain in some way, or does think, oh yeah, I never thought about it like that.
Yeah, exactly. So for example, I'll pull mine from earlier as well. So say if you speak to a builder and you're like, that, how fast do you think it is for offsite construction? And they'd say, oh, it's 5%. And you go, no, it's not. It's 15. Here's the data, blah, blah, blah. And you're challenging them on all those things around your unique style. Relationship builders, they'll go 5%. Oh, yeah, it might be a bit more than that, mate. Might be. I don't know. I've kind of got this study. No, you got to go hard in the paint there.
The third thing you need to do, you need to catalyze action. It could be something in the sense of if you're trying to go out there and sell a premium product, it's going to cost a hell of a lot. There's going to be obviously that uncomfortability when they see the big dollar signs and see how much it is. You've got to justify, it's going to cost a little bit up front, but here's all the things that you're going to save. Here's, having just taught them the big problem or the big opportunity, all the money they're leaving on the table or all the things that they're wasting money on. And you can say, well, it costs a little bit now, but it's really paying for itself in the next 3 to 4 years. If you follow this and you follow this solution, you're actually going to save money. So why are you not doing it?
So I guess at this stage, so you're just basically putting numbers in their head around how big the problem is, right? You're sort of anchoring them to some extent, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Before you actually whip it out.
That's it. It's all about whipping it out.
Now, number 4 for this is commercial teaching rules is scaling across customers. So this is really interesting, hey?
Yeah, this is going beyond. Obviously, if you've got one technique that works one time, but because you need to understand your customers better than they know themselves, it's going to be a lot of research into the industry, into the company, into their competitors. If you do that once and make one sale, it's a lot of work to get that one sale.
Yeah.
You need more of a process, more of a strategy that you can then take and scale and apply across so that you're not investing so much time and effort into every single potential lead.
Yeah, 100%. Like you could be a generalist about learning about everything, or if you go down a really hardcore niche around one certain thing, you do get to the point where you're teaching them something. And that's what you need to do. You need to be teaching them something, whatever it might be.
What they say is if you're individual sales rep, say if you're running a team of sales reps, you can't really trust them to be the superstars. You kind of need to put a bit of structure in place. If you can give them a small handful of well-scripted insights that are applicable across, a wide range of different customers across different industries, plus if you can give a couple of important diagnostic questions that they can ask to probe, mix those two together, and you've got the perfect sort of system here.
All right, so up to this point, you've taught a lot of shit.
You're probably thinking, that sounds awesome. I'm a little weak, soft relationship builder. I need to become a tough challenger sale person. This is how to do it. Here, we'll give you the recipe now, the 6 steps.
Yeah, interesting recipe this. A very good recipe. 6 bloody steps to the earth-shattering moment of challenger sales.
As the world-famous CEB study found.
Yeah. Mate, so step 1 is the warmer. And drop us a warmer, man, because there's a bit of I'll see in your notes here, you got it's linked back to another interesting book, which I found, very interesting link here, which didn't come straight to mind.
I remember your review of The Full Facts of Cold Reading was, you said, this book is completely useless for 99.99% of people, 99.99% of the time.
Oh, did I?
Yeah. I think you just missed the point. I think you were just reading it to how to learn to do tarot card reading, but it's about how to apply it. This is saying that it's kind of like what we said before about having that system in place of a couple of specific insights and a couple of specific questions that you can, it is cold reading in a sense, that you can make them feel like build a bit of rapport along the way and make them feel like this person knows exactly what they're doing. They know me so well already, and I've only just met them.
I remember just, it's always dangerous. I'm just whipping from the left side of the brain after a bottle of red last night. But if you we've worked with a number of companies similar to yours and found that these challenges come up time and time again. It's a bit like, because in that book, it's like if you're a cold reader trying to speak to someone and you do research that the name Kate is in the 1940s or Meg or something. So you go to that, find that unique insight from back then more so than they know. And I'm sensing a bit of Kate in your, Meg in your grandparents sort of thing. So you're sort of leading with the things that are challenging them, and then you're actually speaking about it, right?
Yeah, that's right. And it's kind of that building, there's a lot of elements just in that one statement that you just made. We've worked with a number of companies similar to yours. It's obviously just building yourself up as a bit of an authority, like you know what you're talking about. You're somebody who can be a bit trusted. We found these 3 challenges come up time and time again. So if you've actually got 3 genuine challenges, you can't go full cold. It needs to be, feel closely related to them. Then you think, this person's a really good thinker. They've seen this a lot. They totally understand my challenges. And then you say, is this what you're seeing too? You're going to get a bit of feedback from them as well. And then you can obviously tailor your cold reading appropriately.
I love it. So there's a lot of, even authority and social proof. There's a lot of things just baked in that once on top of what you're just saying there. Number 2 is the reframe. So this is central moment of the commercial teaching pitch here. So it's really building off the challenges that your customer just acknowledged in step 1. So you said you've understood their world for these 3 reasons. You're on the same page with that. If not, you're a challenger sale. We give them a little gut punch.
That's right. And the thing is here, so you've kind of got them alongside with you saying, yeah, these are the 3 challenges that you face, and it might be whatever it could be. Staff turnover could be a really obvious one, or it could be, maintaining profit margins due to inflation and increasing supply costs, or whatever it is. But then these sort of super basic obvious ones are enough to get the warmer. This step here, the reframe, is about actually saying, well, these are small challenges, but here's the big problem that you haven't thought about, or here's the massive opportunity that you've actually never seen before. You need to have something bigger than all of those combined, which is a bit of a reframe.
Yeah, I like it. Mate, there's you challenged me before this episode. Oh, what's your reframe in your mind? I had just a different one pop up, which is great, which I'm definitely going to use, which is useful. But it's like if I'm trying to sell a software to structural engineers, it's about designing mass timber. The teaching is about the impacts of concrete versus mass timber. And then the reframe part would be actually going deep on here's the difference of an individual's impact if you design a concrete building versus timber, and say, it's like the equivalent of 10,000 cars on the road or 50 lifetimes of you just making this one decision. So it's challenging them there, teaching them on that one thing, and then reframing the whole problem and how they design a building. Because everyone, takes coffee cups, teacups and shit like that. So it's bringing into that territory, right?
That's right. The human scale principle as well, which is coming up in next season, made to stick. Relating. If you just say, there's, you're going to save 2,000 tons of carbon or something, it makes absolutely no sense. But if you say, oh, that's equivalent of 10,000 cars, it immediately brings it to something more tangible, a bit more sticky. Obviously, the point here is to have that reframe to be something that they haven't thought of. If it's one of those obvious, simple problems that we mentioned in the first step, if they've thought of the problem, they've probably already thought of the solution and they don't need it from you. The point is you need to have something, a real slap in the side of the face where they've never thought of it, which means you're the perfectly positioned to then help them fix it.
Phenomenal, man. I love it. Step 3 is rational drowning. So you go on 1, you go on the reframe, and then you just drown them. You drown them with...
drag them under and
just keep them there for as long as you can. But it's basically just going hardcore with stats, figures, how much money they're wasting, the negative impact they're having, whatever it might be. But you just fill them to the brim with that sort of shit.
That's right. You've done your reframe, which is all nice in theory. Here's where you actually kind of need to prove it. Data's, graphs, tables, charts, and just showing them that that you want them to say, wow, I had no idea we were wasting that kind of money, or wow, I had no idea we'd left all this money sitting on the table.
Step 4 now, it's about emotional impact. It's really making sure the customer is seeing themselves in the story you're telling. So, it's pretty frustrating if you lay out an argument and they say, I see what you're saying, but I struggle how it applies to us.
Yeah, you've lost. You've lost the game already. You need to make sure that they can see this scenario that you've kind of painted exactly relies to them and their company.
Yeah. So you might suck. You might have done a poor job up until this point, but you could have the wrong customer or you could have the wrong story. So you might have the wrong insights or whatever, from that point.
Now, step 5 is the new way. And this is where you've got to convince them of the solution to that big reframed problem that you mentioned. Now, an important note here, it's very tempting here to say, here's a big problem, I can fix it, our company can fix it. The important here is not to sell them on you or you as the supplier. It's about to sell them on the solution. So it's saying, okay, the big problem or the big challenge or the big opportunity that I laid out, here's the solution, here's the steps that you need to do it, here's how you can take advantage of it, and selling on the solution only without you involved in the picture.
Yeah, exactly. It's like... it's very easy to just go into pitch mode. It's like when you think you got an idea, or it's like I don't know where it was the notes where I had it come to mind like an unsolicited dick pic. It's like if you just whip out what you think is the solution, it just never works. If you're that way inclined, it's obviously getting them a lot to the point about how you're uniquely different to every other person around the world and make them attracted and all that. Then you can maybe whip it out if at the right time, metaphorically, or literally if it's the right time. I'm not saying. You can't just keep it in 20 for the rest of your life. Nothing's ever going to happen. You're not going to procreate, Ashto. So whipping it out's totally fine. It's just about the timing and not too early.
That's right. What we want them to say at this point is saying, yeah, you're right. That makes total sense. That's exactly what we need. Or, that's the kind of company that I can see us being. That's what we need to be. You want them to be saying those types of things. When you hear that, that's when you've got them. the hook's been baited, they've taken that first nibble, they've chomped down, and now it's time to reel them in with step 6.
Step 6. So they've agreed a solution needs to happen. They've agreed, all right, up until this point, there's a problem. They've just learned there's a problem and losing a lot of money because of that problem. And they agree that a certain solution that looks like this exists to solve that problem. So up until this point, this is when you just say, this is my solution. It's a pretty good point. It's pretty straightforward here at the very end because you've gone through the process to get them to here, and it's easy.
That's it. You've warmed them up, a bit of cold reading. You've laid out a few small challenges. You've reframed them with one massive challenge. You've worked through all the numbers and the data. You've shown that they're involved specifically in this story. You've shown here, okay, here's the problem. Here's exactly how you solve it. Now it's the time when you say, cool, I'm the person to solve it.
So the good news here for everyone out there, and me and you, Ashto, if we're relationship builders, the challenges they're made and they're not born. Good.
It's good. Yeah, it's good. It's not those 5 personality types that we listed at the start. It's not just you're fixed in that way. You're not just born that way and that's how you operate. If you want to shift towards being a challenger, which they've, through the massive study, is the most successful type of salesperson, you can learn exactly what you need to do to be it.
That's it, man. So the good thing is the study focuses on skills, learnable attitudes, behaviours and knowledge. They're all malleable to the human brain. So that means with the right tools, training, coaching and reward and recognition systems, you can make the transition to become a challenger.
If you live in Melbourne, listen up. We are hosting our first ever live podcast recording. We're going to do a live episode of the What You Will Learn podcast. You can be in the room as it happens. Head to whatyouwilllearn.com/event to grab your ticket. That's if you live in Melbourne. If you don't live in Melbourne and would love to head to a live podcast recording, send us an email, podcast@whatyouwilllearn.com. Let us know what city you're in. Who knows where we might pop up next. But if you're in Melbourne and if you want to come to our first ever live podcast event, plus you'll get a special bonus for attending. You'll see that when you head to the event page, what you're in for. It's a little secret that you'll hear more about soon. whatyouwilllearn.com/event, EVENT. We hope to see you there.